Hi, I'm Ann V. Brady, and I will be reading Chapter 7 of my autobiography, A New Beginning, the story of my adoption, life, and service. Illustrated by Eric C. Brady. I flew to Augusta, Georgia from New York in March 1980. I changed planes in Atlanta Airport to fly to Augusta Regional Airport. On the flight to Augusta, I met another female soldier going to Fort Gordon, Georgia. When we landed, we went straight to the military service desk to get transportation to the base. We signed in and were told we would have to stay in the guest house until Monday. We stayed overnight in the guest house. That night, we decided to go to the NCO EM club to eat and relax. We met an NCO and he invited us to join him. He was actually acting as a chaperone to make sure no one got into trouble. We found out that he worked in military personnel. I told him about the mistake that personnel at Walter Reed made about my promotion points. I also told him the clerk said I would have to wait 6 months for my name to be put on the list, even though it was their mistake. He told me to see him in personnel on Monday and he would get it squared right away. He said that I shouldn't have to wait. Monday, I reported to the medical company orderly room. I then went to personnel to sign in and talk to the NCO I had met. He checked my scores that had been updated and then submitted my name to be added to the list. I signed in everywhere I had to, including supply for my white uniforms. I worked in the Department of Clinical Investigations under Captain H. I was doing microbiology research. During the weekends, all the enlisted rotated coming in to take care of the animals that we had. We had to take room temperatures, feed the animals, give them water, clean the runs, throw out old litter, and replace it with fresh litter in the cages. We also had a birthday club where everyone put in $1, and when their birthday came around, they would get a birthday cake. The problem was, after a year, civilians and enlisted noticed that the secretary in charge of the birthday club only remembered the officers' birthdays. When she missed my birthday, I asked her about it and she replied, "We'll celebrate your birthday in September." It never happened. She did the same thing to everyone who wasn't an officer. While going to the hospital to use their autoclave, I met Gus. He was an SB4. Gus and I became friends. Gus was from Pennsylvania. He walked at a snail's pace. 15-minute walk from the parking lot took 30 minutes. His excuse was that he did everything slowly because he was in the South. He said the South had a slower pace. He eventually asked me out, and I said yes. We went to the NCO EM club where we had dinner. When we were heading back to my barracks, I stood in a parking block and jumped onto the parking spot. My left knee gave out. Gus went with me to the ER. I had x-rays taken of my left knee. I had twisted my knee and was given naproxen. I was told to stay off my leg, keep it raised, and given crutches. The most annoying thing was no one would pick me up as I walked on crutches from the barracks to work. Before I hurt my knee, people would stop and offer me a ride to work. It was a 10-minute walk to work from the barracks. Biggest problem I had was my roommate, Penny. She kept a sheet tacked to the walls to have privacy in her personal space. I didn't mind that, but she would let her boyfriend stay the night. I didn't say anything as I figured she would deny it and make my life a living hell. When we knew in advance about inspections, we would clean our area, the common area, and the bathrooms. On April 1st, 1980, I was promoted to SB5 while on crutches. The company commander told me I didn't have to get on the stage. He would come to me to pin them on. It was a great day for me. The post photographer took pictures and said that I could pick them up at the company orderly room. One day, as I was coming back from lunch, I met a friend of one of my coworkers, Tommy. His name was Ed Brady. He was cute, had brown wavy hair, hazel eyes, and was a little shorter than me. He told me he was waiting for a childhood friend. On a childhood friend, Tommy. They went both they were both from Canton, Georgia. I talked with Ed for a little bit, and I concluded that he was a smug know-it-all. He proceeded to tell me how to take care of my knee. I didn't appreciate his advice as I was already following doctor's orders. I enjoyed my job and the people I worked with. The civilians gossiped a lot. I met Ed again when clinical investigations had their organization day. We worked a half day and then were let off to change for the festivities. I headed back to the barracks to change. I went to the organization day picnic. They had a lot of food and music. Music was all right, but not to my liking. I met Ed there and we started talking. We discovered that we had a lot in common. We eventually left the party to go ride his motorcycle. After that day, we spent a lot of time together. We became good friends. I introduced him to Gus, and they became friends too. One Saturday, Gus asked me if I wanted to go to a beach party out at Clark's Hill. He said that a few of his friends were having a get-together. He drove us out to Lake Lanier in his car. When it got late, was going to sleep on the beach overnight. Gus suggested we sleep in the back of his car. I told him that I was sleeping outside and that he could sleep in the car if he wanted to. I got a large towel out to sleep on, and Gus slept in the car. He said he didn't like roughing it. I slept outside on a beautiful and warm night. The stars were out. I slept all night and woke up refreshed. We headed back up to the base that morning. Ed and I, while we spent time together a lot, we decided that we would take things slow, as we both had been hurt before. One weekend before we were over at his friend's trailer with other friends of his, we went to a fast food joint to get food for everyone. Tommy let Ed borrow his car. We ordered the food and paid for it, but we drove off without the food. We had been busy talking and getting to know each other. We suddenly realized we didn't have the food and had to go back for it. We were worried about it still being there. We lucked out and drove back to the trailer with all the food. Everyone started ribbing us about the reason we were late with the food. They accused us of stopping to get to know each other better. They wouldn't believe us that we didn't stop off to have a quickie. Ed invited me out to dinner, so I dressed up. When Ed arrived to take me out, he was upset that I was wearing heels. He yelled at me that he didn't tell me to get dressed up. I noticed he was wearing stack shoes. We rode to the restaurant on his motorcycle. I started spending a lot of time at Tommy's trailer and becoming fast friend with Tommy's wife, Tracy. When Ed went to do a construction job out of town, Tracy would come pick me up and we would go shopping at the mall. I stopped at Gordon's jewelry store and found a pocket watch that I thought Ed would like. Ed told me about a pocket watch his grandfather had. It was gold with a train on the back of the watch. I bought a gold pocket watch with a train etched on the back. The watch cost $135. I bought the watch and a fob for $185. Ed loved the pocket watch, was upset as he thought that the watch was $185 by itself. I explained to him the cost of the pocket watch and the fob were $185. During this time, I switched from smoking cigarettes to smoking cigars to cut down on how much I smoked. I smoked either cigarillos or Swisher Sweet cigars. One day, I got a call from one of my former co-workers at Ramsey. They called to tell me Spec 5 Sandy had been killed in a car accident and was going to be buried in Pennsylvania. She ran into the back of a semi that pulled in front of her suddenly off an entrance ramp. They told me when and where the service would be. I told them I would do everything I could to get there. I had recently changed my bank from one in D.C. to a local bank in Augusta, Georgia. This caused a problem when I tried to remove money to go to the funeral. The bank didn't want to give me my money. I tried explaining to them that it was an emergency, but they wouldn't listen. Fortunately, Ed was with me in the day room of the barracks. I handed the phone to him. He talked to the bank, and I was able to get my money out of the bank. I went to the company orderly room and put in for emergency leave. I packed a bag with a dress, stockings, and heels. Ed drove me to the Greyhound station on his motorcycle. We entered the bus station to get a round-trip ticket to Philadelphia and back. I was supposed to arrive in Philly at about midnight. When we entered the bus station, we were greeted by the sight of about 8 people in pink flowing robes, bald heads with ponytails in the center, playing tambourines while dancing and chanting in the station. It was really bizarre. We found out they were Hare Krishna. Ed put his Avon Eagle chain around my neck, telling me it would protect me. He then kissed me and told me to call him when I returned and he would pick me up. I had to change buses twice. The second time was around 11 p.m., and I called Ron before transferring to the new bus. I had to let him know I wasn't going to make it until about 7:30. He told me I was going to have to get a cab as no one could pick me up at the bus station. After changing buses, as I got near Philly, I went to the bathroom on the bus. I entered the bathroom and locked the door. I proceeded to change clothes while the bus was moving. The bathroom was tiny, making it even harder to change into a dress and put stockings on. Finally, I was dressed and I put away my shorts, t-shirt, and sneakers. I sat the rest of the ride uncomfortably dressed until we arrived in Philly. I was able to get a cab to the church. I gave the driver the name of the church. I was hoping to make it to the church before the service started. We got stuck behind a trash truck, making trash pickup during busy morning traffic. Ride to the church was excruciatingly long. Driver was trying to get me there on time. We finally made it to the church as the service started. I was able to see the whole service, and immediately after, I found my former co-workers, Jean, Maria, and Ron. I was able to get a ride to the cemetery and to the reception at Sandy's parents' house. I asked where everyone was staying as I was hoping that I could get some sleep before heading back to Augusta, Georgia. I was informed that they all had to head back immediately to DC and work. Ron offered to drop me off at the Greyhound bus station when they left the reception. I thanked him. We stayed at Sandy's parents' house for about a half hour, met Sandy's family, and gave them my condolences. After Ron dropped me off at the bus station, I got on the bus. I went straight to the bathroom. I locked the door and changed back to my comfortable clothes for the ride back. I arrived back in Augusta around 7:30 the next day. I called Ed from the bus station to let him know I was home. Ed picked me up on his motorcycle and drove me to the barracks. I slept the whole day and signed in off leave that afternoon. I called home from our day room to talk to my mom. I told my mom about going to Sandy's funeral, and she wanted to know why I didn't call her. I told her I wanted to do it on my own. She had made a big deal out of the fact that they would have given me the money to fly to Pennsylvania for the funeral. My mom didn't realize that I felt as an adult I should be able to do it on my own. During the time I was seeing Ed, I received a letter from an old boyfriend. He had wanted me to go to Germany with him, but the letter said he was seeing other women and wasn't interested in me anymore. Ed told me about his family and that he was from Canton, Georgia. He told me about his parents, Don and Anita Brady, and that they were court reporters. He also told me that he and his father didn't get along. Ed and I spent a lot of time over at Tommy and Tracy's trailer. One day, Ed was in the day room at the barracks when I came home from work. When we entered my room, Penny was there. We talked for a while and I went to the bathroom to change out of my uniform. We left for dinner. When I came out, as we walked to Ed's bike, he told me that Penny was hitting on him. She wanted to know why he was interested in me rather than her. He told me from now on he was going to see me in the day room. He said he told her he wasn't interested, but she was persistent. I told him that she had a boyfriend. I told him I didn't know why she was interested in him. And that was all I'm going to read for today. And I hope you have a happy Sunday. And thank you for listening to my book.